Welcome back to the channel. This is Stud Muffin 1986, and I am doing this video today because somebody had commented. So thank you, Last Commander, for your request. I want to let everyone know I do listen to my subscribers, those that make comments, and I was actually quite excited to make this video. Because these are definitely quite interesting tanks, had been talked about quite a bit, and would actually be quite interesting to see in World of Tanks Blitz. They are in World of Tanks PC and also console. These things are just absolutely massive, and when diving into some of the research, to be honest with you, I didn't actually realize how massive these things are. I mean, these things are crazy. So this is just an example of some of the tier 6 and 7 tanks comparatively to the Mouse. This is the Type 5 Heavy comparatively to the Mouse and the E100. The tier 6 just compared to the SU100Y, which is already a really big tank. And just some others. This is just to help give you some size comparison. The Tiger 1 to the tier 7 Japanese Heavy. I mean, it is just crazy how big these things are. And you don't realize how big these things are until you see these pictures of them, how just monstrous and just kind of how ugly they are. And even their armor, like the Type 5 armor is actually quite crazy, with 280 millimeters of turret armor, 270 millimeters of hull armor. Compared to the Mouse, the Mouse's turret only has 240 millimeters, and the E100's turret has 250 millimeters. So these things are really beasts, and they also are quite derpy too. I mean, these things have quite a kick to them. And it's funny because the tier 7 is actually the biggest one in the game. I mean, if you just look at it comparatively to the Mouse, you can actually just see how much more monstrous this tank is. And the developers of Wargaming with World of Tanks Blitz have really been trying to focus and work on trying to implement these in the game. And I can see some of the frustrations or the complications they would have with implementing a tank or just this entire tech tree line because of the size of these things. Size is definitely not an advantage when it comes to tanks. It's going to be much harder to hide behind things. It's going to be much harder. You're going to have way more exposure to be able to get hit and shot at and everything else. And to compensate for that, you're going to need a lot of armor because you are one heck of a big punching bag. So yeah, thought this was really fun. I think eventually we will see these in Blitz, and I think it will be really fun. I would be actually really curious to try these things out if they did come into Blitz. I think there's a lot about them that do add a little bit of a uniqueness. I don't think players are going to be able to hide behind very much with these things. It's funny with the armor. I mean, this is a video of someone doing 30k blocked damage, which is just insane. And I believe that this was, I believe this tank, right after the release, was definitely OP, and Wargaming had to nerf this tank a little bit. But this thing was kind of a rolling fortress. And you could just see the amount of difficulty so many tanks are having trying to penetrate this thing. So, quite interesting tanks. These are definitely the monsters. If they did come out in a Blitz, they would definitely be the biggest tanks in the game. And so we'll see. We'll definitely see if Wargaming comes out with these things. I'd be very, very interested to see your guys' comments below and what your guys' thoughts are. But yeah, I mean, these are just some clips I had found of if the Type 5 Heavy, just for example, was in Blitz. This is just a mod, but it kind of just goes to demonstrate just a little bit about the Type 5 Heavy in the game, a little bit about the comparison. I'd been seeing some videos on talking about the developers and some of the things that they're trying to do and test and really work to see if they can make these tanks in the game. I have heard, going through and reading a lot of different things, some people say they would be really excited, they really want these tanks in the game. There's also others that say no, these things are absolutely ridiculous, these things shouldn't come in the game. So I don't know. I mean, we'll definitely see. I'm not wargaming, but I mean, if you even just got along the sides of these things, just because there's so many, I mean, even if you were in a massive heavy tank, these things are so big. Just the tier 7 coming up along the side of that, and the tier 7 doesn't even compare to most things, just because it's so massive. If you just come along the side of this thing and just scrape back and forth along the side, just pounding rounds into the side of it, this thing is going to have a really hard time trying to get anyone trying to do that to you, because this thing is just so massive. I don't know if they're going to try balancing or compensating it by giving it better gun depression, because this thing will definitely need some kind of gun depression to compensate for the height of it, just because it's such a tall tank. These things, I mean, in my personal opinion, I think that these things definitely could work within Blitz. But like I said, I mean, I can understand maybe some of the complications that the developers may be facing when trying to implement these things, just because of the magnitude and the size of these tanks. So yeah, like I said, I would be really curious to know what your guys' thoughts are on these things. Should they bring them into Blitz? Should they not bring them into Blitz? Just really curious. Love making these videos for you guys. Love my new subscribers. Let me know if you guys have any suggestions out there, and keep tanking.